Hello students, this is the part 3 of the chapter ecosystem, and today we will be discussing about the topic ecological succession. Now what is ecological succession? Here you can see a picture which is depicting the overall idea of ecological succession. Here you can see that time is moving forward from the left hand side towards your right hand side, and you can see the increase in the number and also the type of plants. Firstly, there were perennial plants and grasses mostly, then shrubs, and then softwood trees like pines, and after that hardwood trees, which are the largest ones. Okay, now, ecological succession can be defined as the natural development of a series of biotic communities at the same site. Okay, so how the living organisms, the type of living organism is changing at a particular site for a very long period of time, one after other, and ultimately producing a climax community. Now, what is climax community? Uh, So let me write here about uh, climax community. Okay. So let's talk about climax community. In this particular picture, the last one here, the last one with the hardwood trees is the climax community. It is the stable, most stable one, and self-perpetuating and final biotic community that develops at the end of a biotic succession and is in perfect harmony with the physical environment. Okay, so this last one is known as the climax community, which is the stable one, and it is in perfect harmony with its physical environment. This is known as climax community. Now there is another term known as perennial pioneer community. Okay, so pioneer, this is the annual one. The first stage is the pioneer community. Now what is pioneer community? The first biotic community means the first group of living organisms that develop at a particular area which is bare is known as pioneer community. Okay. So in the flow of ecological succession, the first community is known as pioneer community, and the last one, the most stable one, is known as climax community. Now moving on to another term which is known as seri. Okay, so what is seri? The different stages of an ecological succession through which the change takes place slowly is known as seri, or transitional community, or seral community. Okay, the entire sequence of developmental stages of biotic succession from pioneer community to a climax community is known as seri. So here in this picture, this one is a seri, this is another seri, this is another seri, and this is the last seri, which is known as the climax community. The stages are known as seri. Okay. Next, we will talk about the general process of succession, how succession takes place. Okay, so in this is a flow chart from your book, as you can see, and these are the stages of or this is a schematic representation of the process of succession. Now the succession starts with nudation. Now what is nudation? This is the formation of a bare area or a barren land. Here you can see formation of barren land through erosion, deposition and wind. Now here during nudation, the bare area or the barren land is devoid of any life form. Okay, and the cause of nudation may be climatic, for example wind, erosion, flood, drought, etc., or it may also be topographic, like landslide, volcanic eruptions, and it may also be biotic. There may be biotic reasons like epidemic, human activities, fire, etc. So these are the certain reasons, these are the possible reasons through which a nude or a barren land can be formed, which is devoid of any life form at all. So this is the first stage of succession. Moving on to the second stage, this is migration. Second stage is migration, and this three stages actually is one stage and is part of the one stage known as invasion. Okay. Invasion, and invasion consists of migration, SSS, and aggregation. So you can count them as separate steps or as one step, which is known as invasion. Now invasion means successful establishment of a species in this bare area which is formed here. Okay, the bare area which was formed during the first stage. Now different life forms are successfully establishing themselves in that bare area, and that is known as invasion. Now invasion has three steps which I already told you, that migration, SSS, and aggregation. Now we have to discuss about these three of these separately. Firstly, talking about migration. We all know the meaning of migration: the transfer of seeds, spores, or other propagules, means which will give rise to more living organisms to that bare land, is known as migration. Okay, moving on to SSS. Now what is SSS? The entire process of germination, beginning with the germination to the formation of reproductive units, is known as SSS. Okay, establishment of species. Here in this picture you can see that establishment of species, this actually takes place during the stage SSS. And the last one under invasion is aggregation. The word aggregation means to aggregate, means gathering of a large number of species after the establishment of them. Okay, so three of these come under invasion. Moving on to the third one, which is competition and coaction. So when different species gather, aggregate, and establish themselves, there will obviously be competition among different species. And competition can be, you all know, there are two types of competition: intraspecific and interspecific. So competition can take place between the members of the same species, and also between the members of the different species for space, nutrition, resources, mating, etc. Okay, so obviously after invasion, aggregation, that is establishment of species, the next step will be competition and coaction. Number 4 is reaction. What is reaction? The living organisms reciprocally influence and get influenced by the environment. Okay, and this is known as reaction. As a result of reaction, changes take place in soil, water, light conditions, temperature, etc. of this area. Okay, and thus the environment of the area gets modified, becoming unsuitable for the existing community, and as a result of which those species may be replaced by another community. Okay, and which will give rise to next series, which will consist of different groups of organisms, that may be plants or animals. Okay. Now coming to the last one, last stage, which is stabilization. Finally, the terminal community becomes stabilized in the prevailing conditions. So whichever is the last community at a particular point of time, that will be stabilized, and that will be the most stable one, and will also be self-perpetuating, and at for that point of time it will be the final biotic community that develops at the end of this particular biotic succession. Now this succession will not stop, obviously not stop, and it will keep on going, and the next step, whatever series that grows in the next coming point of time, will be the next climax community when it grows. Okay, so this is all about the schematic representation of the process of. Now coming to another topic, which is known as the types of ecological succession. Now there are two types of ecological succession, primary and secondary. What is primary succession? Primary succession is a biotic succession which occurs on a previously bare land, for example new exposed rock area or sand dunes or igneous rocks or newly created pond or reservoir. Okay, where previously no ecosystem existed, that is primary succession. Okay, moving on to the secondary succession. The secondary succession is a biotic succession that occurs in an area from which a community has been removed and where nutrients and conditions for existence are present. For example, cutover forest or abundant land crop, or any forests that have been previously destroyed due to forest fire. So once it is destroyed, and the second time when life will grow again on that area, that succession is known as secondary succession. Okay. And secondary succession is much faster than the primary succession because the soil and certain organisms are already present in there. The soil is already fertile, and the environment and the different conditions to survive are suitable for the living organisms. So secondary succession will take place much faster than primary succession, and surviving seeds, underground stems, persisting and new invading species rapidly grow on the return of favorable conditions. Okay, so these are about the types of ecological succession.